Suppose you subscribe to the concept of karma. You likely observe individuals who commit numerous transgressions, yet appear to flourish untouched by misfortune. This disparity often leads to the speculation that retribution awaits them in a future existence, or that a metaphysical reckoning will balance the scales after death. However, this entire line of inquiry relies on a specific and flawed premise: that the universe functions as a moral tribunal, complete with invisible magistrates tallying debts, ensuring that every injury is eventually returned to its sender. But existence does not adhere to this model. Malice often goes unpunished, while virtue meets adversity. This lack of symmetry confuses us, driving us to embrace myths of delayed justice, as if the cosmos simply requires more time to balance its books. The phenomenon we label karma is actually far more personal and intrinsic to the fabric of our consciousness. It does not announce its arrival, nor does it strike with dramatic force. Frequently, it bears no resemblance to our expectations. To truly grasp its nature, one must look beyond the folklore of retribution and observe the actual mechanics of life. Ignore the surface noise and examine the underlying architecture. In reality, the universe operates less like a judge and more like an acoustic chamber. It reflects, resonates, and reiterates, though rarely in the manner we anticipate or on the timeline we desire. It is simply the inertia of our perception, the specific way we interpret, think, and react, propelling itself into the immediate future. Most individuals fail to recognize this mechanism because their attention is fixated on external events. We feel indignation when witnessing someone act unethically, yet navigate life with ease, smiling, successful, and admired. It strikes us as unjust. Consequently, the mind seeks a rationale, convincing itself that they will pay eventually or that the universe will intervene. However, observe closely. This frustration stems not from their actions, but from our expectation that the universe should operate as a strictly managed legal system where every deed meets a precise verdict. Life has never guaranteed such moral geometry. A seed germinates not because it is deserving, but because environmental conditions permit it. A natural disaster does not target one home and spare another based on moral calculation. Nature follows patterns. Karma, therefore, is merely the momentum of the pattern you currently inhabit. It is cause and effect looping until the energy dissipates. It is not a punishment delivered from the outside. It is continuity, the reverberation of your own state of being. Nothing is pursuing you. There is only what you continue to carry. Many visualize karma as an ambush waiting around the next bend. However, karma does not lurk in the future. It unfolds in the immediate present. It is the bridge the past builds to the next moment, persisting unless interrupted. One does not receive karma. One participates in it. Consider it a behavioral loop. Imagine a recurring stimulus that prompts the exact same irritation daily. As long as the reaction remains identical, the pattern solidifies. Yet, if you were to respond one day with a completely different demeanor, perhaps a smile or indifference, the entire dynamic shifts. The moment becomes novel and unpredictable. Instantly, a new trajectory is established. Karma operates on this same principle. It is the real-time unfolding of your internal design. It endures only through your thoughts, reactions, assumptions, narratives, and your habitual self-identity. You perpetuate the pattern, and the pattern perpetuates you. Karma is not an external decree. It is internal inertia. When you cease reacting predictably, when you stop rehearsing the same convictions and expecting identical results, the pattern is deprived of energy. It falters and dissolves. This is why karma requires your active participation to survive. Without your reenactment of the old self, the old karma cannot sustain itself. It concludes the moment you cease to be the person who generated it. Therefore, the individual you suspect is evading justice has not been overlooked by the cosmos. They are merely traversing a circuit of their own creation. Whether that circuit generates misery or ease is invisible to the external observer. A person may be spiritually drowning behind a facade of composure, while another may appear troubled while actually awakening to profound clarity. Internal experience rarely translates perfectly to visible form. The point is not to speculate on their internal state, but to realize that outer appearances are merely the veneer of a deeper current. If their current pattern produces favorable circumstances, it is not due to a failure of justice, but simply because their trajectory is unfolding along advantageous lines for the time being. Eventually, every pattern exposes its true nature. Once this is understood, a fascinating truth emerges. Karma is not a celestial machine grinding away overhead. It is simply the persistence of a habit, a mental movement carrying itself forward. This implies, delightfully, that you are not shackled to it. You can interrupt it, redirect it, or allow it to dissolve like a wave returning to the ocean. Karma persists only as long as you play the same role in the same drama. The pertinent question, then, is not how to expunge your karma, but how to step out of the loop that has been running for years. The solution begins with something incredibly straightforward: awareness. To detect your own loop, to spot the emotion before it consumes you, is the genesis of freedom. Observing a phenomenon is fundamentally different from being immersed in it. A habit relies on automaticity. The instant you perceive it, you detach from it. Most never reach this stage because they conflate their reactions with their identity. However, when you observe the pattern, you reveal it as a mere habit masquerading as self. From this observation arises a second capability, the power of non-reaction. This involves pausing, allowing a brief gap in the usual sequence. It means permitting the old impulse to arise without granting it your allegiance. In that brief pause, the old karma begins to starve. You cease fueling the mechanism that has repeated itself for years, stepping out of the automatic and into lucidity. Then comes the pivot point: replacement. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you simply halt a pattern, the mind will rush to fill the void with the familiar. Therefore, you must consciously introduce a new pattern, a new assumption, a new response, a new identity aligned with your desired growth. This is not self-deception. It is the deliberate redirection of the river as flow, rather than allowing it to carve the same canyon. Some individuals never escape their karma because they cling to identical assumptions and reactions. When confronted with suffering, they look for external causes, claiming past life transgressions are to blame. This offers a comforting logic to pain and a hope for future relief. Believing the universe keeps a ledger feels reassuring. It implies that cruelties and misfortunes are being balanced in some distant accounting. Thus, people wait passively for the scales to tip, believing their suffering is destined and beyond control. But the truth is simpler and more immediate. Suffering is not a sentence from a hidden judge. It is the natural echo of the patterns one continues to inhabit. Blaming a past life or cosmic accounting is merely a strategy to avoid the difficult work of confronting the loop in the present. Until one notices, pauses, and chooses differently, the pattern repeats like a song on an endless loop. Turn your gaze inward to the mirror of the mind. Observe how the same narratives rise and fall, how the same uninvited reactions surge, and how the same assumptions sculpt your reality. You may see others struggling or thriving, punished or rewarded, but in truth, these are reflections of your internal patterns. The world is not a teacher dispensing lessons. It is a mirror revealing your rhythm. When you catch yourself re-entering an old loop feeling the familiar rise of anger or despair, pause. See it clearly. Recognize it as a ripple of your own making. In that pause, the mirror ceases to judge. It simply reveals what was hidden. You realize that your suffering, joy, and peace are not located elsewhere. They arise from the choices you make and the consciousness you bring to the moment. Once seen, the path forward opens. Awareness, non-reaction, and the deliberate seeding of a new pattern. The mirror transforms from a static reflection into a space of possibility. The face that seemed trapped now suggests liberation, for the observer is not separate from the reflection. We arrive, then, at a quiet truth. The world is neither punishing nor rewarding you. It is simply unfolding, indifferent to praise or blame. What binds you is not destiny or a ledger of past lives, but the habitual rhythms of your own mind. Every recurring thought and reaction strengthens the unseen chains. Yet, within this apparent inevitability lies freedom. The moment you notice the pattern and pause, you step outside the cycle. You need not fight or seek vengeance against it. Awareness alone begins to dissolve its power. When you stop feeding the old pattern and consciously adopt a new one, the old karma has no foothold. This is the hidden miracle of ordinary life. The smallest internal shift can ripple outward indefinitely. One thought, one pause, one deliberate action can redirect a seemingly unstoppable river. Storms may still arise, but you are no longer swept away. You move and perceive differently, no longer dancing to the rhythm that once controlled you. In this shift, there is a deep release. For the first time, the world is not a judgment, but a reflection of the life you choose right now. The old stories fall silent, the patterns fade, and you discover that liberation was never in the past or future. It was always here in your own awareness, waiting for you to claim it. Freedom is not a distant correction of fate, but the immediate act of noticing the loop, exiting the story, and choosing a new rhythm. Only then does the old karma lose its authority, not as a reward or punishment, but as the natural consequence of a transformed internal state.